Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact. Hey everyone, welcome back. My guest today is Adam Dodge. Adam is the founder of EndTAB, and he is an internationally recognized digital safety expert. Hello. Adam believes that you do not have to be a tech expert to stay safe in the digital age. His work is characterized by his dedication to preventing and addressing the ways adults and children are harmed online and via their devices. He acts as a special advisor to the Coalition Against Stalkerware and sits on the World Economic Forum's Digital Justice Advisory Committee. Adam is also a licensed attorney whose work and expertise have been featured on CBS and in Vogue, the MIT Technology Review, Washington Post, NBC, GQ, and others. And how cool is that? I met Adam when I was doing my 40-hour domestic violence advocacy training, and he did a presentation on this digital safety stuff. And I immediately emailed him and was like, please come on my podcast, because so many of you deal with this. And, you know, the good news is, as I said in reading his bio, that you do not have to be a tech expert in order to stay safe. And Adam is going to walk us through a ton of ways in which things that we can do right now to stay digitally safe. Before I give you my interview with Adam, I just also want to tell you yet again that my Should I Stay or Should I Go is brand spanking new. In case you missed me talking about it the last few weeks, it is brand spanking new. I re-recorded every single video. I rewrote the entire curriculum. I condensed it to be far more streamlined to what you specifically need to answer the question of should I stay or should I go? And I expanded areas that I've had feedback on that were, most important and impactful to people who have taken the program in the past. So if you are a member already, if you actually have the old version, you should have gotten an email for how to upgrade. So make sure you check your email, your spam folder, your promotions folder, and all of that in case you missed that. If you have not taken the program and you are still struggling with should I stay or should I go, or you've made the decision and you are in the place of like, how do I not do this again? This program is absolutely for you. So click on the link in the show notes, get yourself in this program, and it'll change your life. Plain and simple. So back to Adam, my friend Adam Dodge. I adore him. And so here is my interview with Adam Dodge. Adam, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about all things technology and abuse and digital abuse. In my experience, in my work, this is becoming an increasingly large problem. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And I'm seeing what you're seeing. I'm seeing people, especially coming out of the trends coming out of the pandemic. People are online and on their devices more than ever before. So as a corollary to that, people are misusing the internet and social media and technology to harm others as well, particularly in unhealthy and abusive relationships. It's just, it's become a no-brainer for a lot of folks.
Yeah. How do people use technology to, as abuse, as a tactic of abuse in intimate partner relationships?
How much time do you have, Kate?
Yep. All day. We got all day. Let's go.
Okay, great. Okay. So many ways.
Mhm.
Some of the common things that we see, for example, and I'm going to be very clear and intentional with my language here, and I don't use the word hacking, but I hear from a lot of survivors of relationship abuse that somebody has hacked their email or hacked their Instagram. And at the end of the day, it's not really hacking because the person that is doing this is not a hacker. They have, in fact, no tech expertise whatsoever. What they are doing is they are misusing access and opportunity to someone's accounts to gain access to them. So if I, for example, logged into Instagram on my partner's device, first of all, nobody logs out of Instagram. So once I leave the app, now that person, whoever has that device, can get into my Instagram whenever they want. And so what we refer to it as at EndTAB is unauthorized account access because, or non-consensual account access, really getting into consent because what we're comfortable with goes beyond our bodies and bodily autonomy and includes our devices, accounts, and apps. And I don't know about you, but I'm on my device all the time, and somebody invading my privacy in my in online spaces or in my device is really violating.
Yeah.
And once they have access to those things, it's hard to know that they're in those accounts, and then they can use that access to monitor us, monitor our communications, monitor our locations, steal information, steal photos, gaslight, do all types of things. I mean, digital gaslighting is almost tailor-made for devices and accounts because it's so easy to do it subtly and really make somebody question their sanity if it's being done on a regular basis.
Say more about that. What is digital gaslighting look like?
Sure. So it's designed to make somebody question. I mean, gaslighting in general is designed to make somebody question whether or not, no, I never said that to you, or no,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do that. You didn't pay that bill. You didn't, no, you left it open. No, and you
Mm-hmm.
start when it happens over a sustained period of time. If it's a one-off, you'd be like, you're out of your mind. I didn't do that. But when you hear it over and over again as part of a pattern of power and control in a relationship, you start to believe these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it happens in digital spaces or in online spaces, going in and making adjustments to someone's auto pay settings so that it's paying after the due date. So you simultaneously, one, cause their credit to go down and cause financial abuse, but two, you make them doubt their own faculties. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I must have set that wrong. I must have done that wrong. Or going in and making changes. I've seen cases where people have gone in to shared streaming platforms like Netflix or whatever and start watching, violent shows or, think to mess with the algorithm to suggest things that either are unpleasant to a victim or survivor of domestic violence or are uh, more in line with the tastes of their ex. And it makes them feel like, well, like what is happening here? What is going on? And so it's a really good platform for doing that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It's just it's so insidious, right? And it's so like, it's yeah. It's so upsetting.
Insidious is the perfect word for it, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really easy because of our reliance on technology. It's really easy to worm your way in that way because it's
Yeah.
hard to even know what's happening sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it's really important that you distinguish between, because people do, they always say, he hacked my account, he hacked, right? And that these people are not tech experts. They're not hackers. They're not going into the back end, putting in complicated code. They're simply utilizing, our forgetfulness or the access that they once had, or they just know our passwords and they know us and they know that, we use the same password for everything or what have you, right? Which is actually something that we'll talk about. I know you have thoughts on that.
So many, but
You're in my brain now. Whenever I'm like trying to like create a password, I'm like, okay, Adam says.
Listen, I'm picking up what you're putting down. That's what I think about a lot is the unsophistication of people that engage in tech facilitated intimate partner violence because you need to have zero expertise. But the good news is if the people that are harming us don't have that tech expertise, then we don't have to have tech expertise to protect ourselves or stop it. So if there's a silver lining to this, it's that we can absolutely do something about it.
So, okay, well, let's go straight there to passwords, right? Because that's sort of like that's like the first line of defense, right? It's one of the first things that we tell people: change all of your passwords. But that doesn't mean change them all to the same thing, right? So
correct.
So talk to us about passwords, because like I said, I mean, it feels like that's like the first line of defense, right? Is passwords. What do we need to know about our passwords? Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to make. So it's always hard in my trainings to make passwords an interesting subject to listen about. But here's how I'll break it down. We really look, they're the keys to our digital life, so they're really important to have really strong, unique passwords across all our accounts, which is hard to do when you have, the average person has 90 online accounts and 80 apps on their phone. So it's 170 different accounts that we have to keep track of, which makes it easy for somebody who has been close to us to get into some accounts that maybe we've forgotten about or we've reused passwords on or something like that. So, but it's doubly or triply important for folks who have maybe recently been in an unhealthy relationship to be on top of their passwords, because the call may already be coming from inside the house. And by that, I mean, somebody may already be in our accounts. Like, we're not changing passwords to prevent somebody from getting in completely. We're also need to be mindful of the fact that this person I may have logged into my Amazon account on my partner's laptop and it saved the password and I never logged out. So now they're in there. And so we want to use really unique, powerful passwords. And a great way to do that is to get a password manager. They're free. This one's like LastPass or 1Password, and they will create really strong, unique passwords for all your accounts. And you only have to remember one really kick-ass password for the password manager.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing you want to do, and this is really especially true for victims and survivors of domestic violence and who have been in abusive relationships, is you need to make sure you log everybody out of your accounts. That's what the online safety sites don't tell you, because they're not thinking about you. You're not thinking about people in unhealthy relationships. They're thinking about, third parties who don't know us trying to get into our accounts. But when it's coming from on the inside, then we need to take, as victims and survivors of this type of abuse, we need to take an extra step of logging everybody out of our accounts. Because even if you update the password, that person may not get kicked out. So because they're already on the inside. So update passwords and log everybody out. You can go into your iPhone or an Android device and you can go in and you can log everybody out. You can see who's logged in, and then you can also log everybody out.
Where do you see that?
Well, it depends. So what kind of phone do you have? Do you have an iPhone?
I have an iPhone. Yeah,
okay.
I have an iPhone.
So if you go to hit the little settings cog on your phone,
okay,
and tap your name at the top, which should be your Apple ID.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you scroll down, you will see devices listed at the bottom.
Oh,
and sometimes you might see a device like, oh, this is my ex's device, or this is somebody else's device. So you want to get that person out of there. So you would tap on the device that is no longer yours, and it'll take you to a page with some more detail, and you can tap remove from account. And that will remove it as a trusted device. And then you update your password and they can't log in anymore. So again, this is something you don't have to do as a normal everyday person, but when we're talking about relationship abuse in the digital age, this is the extra step we need to take. And unfortunately, people who are targeted by intimate partner violence, they just don't get the attention from mainstream, safety guidance that they should, which is why, I tend to focus on it, because there's a lot of folks out there that need that help.
So I mean, I did not know that existed. And I'm like, this is so great, because I just logged out like the old iPad that I gave away years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ta-da! I wiped it clean, but it was still connected to my account. So that's great. And so how about on Android? Do you know how to do that on Android?
So Android's a little more difficult because, unlike iPhone, there are a bunch of different Android models. So
Right.
I can't
Right.
give you the guidance here, but I would just say if you Google or do an internet search for log out all devices, Samsung Galaxy, it'll take you to
Right.
the steps to do that. So it creates a real opportunity when multiple devices can be logged into a single account. So it's like, you could have 4 devices logged into your Instagram account at any given time, for example. So,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you can that those are all safe and you want them in there is
Right.
important.
Right. And also doing, having that every time someone that works on my team logs into my Instagram account, I get a notification. Somebody's logging into your Instagram account in Phoenix. And I'm like, yes, okay, that's them. Or in Canada, like, okay, that's them. Right. And so enabling those notifications, I assume, is also a pretty important thing to do. Right.
It is, but usually or often once you say, yeah, that's a safe device,
Uh-huh.
you may not get that prompt anymore because now
Oh.
it's been considered a safe device.
Aha. And so if you did that when you were married to this person,
That's right.
then yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if I logged into using Amazon as an example, if I on my partner's laptop during a relationship and I log in, now Amazon is going to view that device as safe until I revoke it, right? Because we
Right.
don't want to
Mm-hmm.
get prompted with every time we log in from our device saying, "Hey, we see you,
Yeah.
Adam, we see you entered the right password, but we're going to text a 6-digit code to your phone to make sure it's you." Like, you don't want to do that every single time because it's
Right.
annoying.
Right.
But and that's the loophole in intimate partner violence and unhealthy relationships is once that you make a device safe, it's not going to get prompted for that extra
Mm.
layer of security, which is another
Mm.
big loophole that doesn't get talked about enough.
Okay, so passwords, that's I think that's one thing that's really super important. And social media, is there anything else that people should know about social media safety?
So much. On one hand, going sort of circling, just recycling what we just talked about, you want to make
Uh-huh.
sure that you recognize all the devices that are logged into your social media accounts. Because
Mm-hmm.
if there's another device that's logged in, you can remove it just like we did with the iPhone example. You can go into TikTok or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever and verify what devices are logged in. And if you see one in there that you don't want in there, you can remove it. It's always a good idea to take a screenshot before you remove it in case you need it for evidence in a restraining order, protective order case, or to show to law enforcement or whatever it is. So you want to make sure that you know who's in there. And whether you get out of a relationship healthy or unhealthy or otherwise, it's always a good idea to update your social media passwords. Just people tend to share that stuff and log in on into each other's accounts pretty regularly. The other thing I would say
They
is,
do they really? I mean, like, why? Like, I've never
oh, they
I just don't
we see it a
understand
lot. I see it a
why.
lot with like high schoolers and college age
Oh, okay.
students. They'll
Okay.
co-create accounts together. They really, because it's like you share everything in a relationship, and maybe no one's speaking to them to say, hey, that's maybe not, if you're going to do that, like, make an informed decision, because if this relationship goes sideways, like there's a lot of damage somebody can do from inside your accounts. So just
Mm-hmm.
make that informed choice. But the other thing I would say about social media is dealing with harassment, because there's so many ways somebody can get at you. They can DM you, they can comment, they can tag you, they can do all these different things, right? They can at you. So a lot of people their go-to is to say, well, just block that person, just block them.
Yeah.
And I always cringe a little bit when people say that, because blocking can often have an unintended consequence. If you have an ex who's been harassing the hell out of you and sending you all these DMs and messages on whatever, Instagram, let's say, and you block them, do you think that person is going to be like, well, they got me, I've been blocked, I guess I'm going to leave them alone now forever? Or might they go and create new accounts, fake accounts, to continue the harassment, right? So
Yes, they
it's
will do
important
that.
to know on social media. Yeah, absolutely they will. So,
Yeah.
and that still may be the right call, but it's important to know that there are things like muting and restricting that silences the harassment, but doesn't let the other person know they've been silenced. So you're basically neutering them because they're not getting to you, but they don't know that they've been blocked or muted, so they continue without creating,
Right.
an army of accounts to harass you with. So it's important to know your options.
They will escalate, right? If they feel like they can't, so you're sort of blocking their ability, their need or desire to escalate.
Yeah, and for the person being targeted, blocking somebody, it can actually be a really scary experience, because once you block them, then they're worried, well, how else? Now what are they going to do? Are they going to escalate? Are they going to come to my house? Are they going to start? So it's sort of like the devil, So, but it impacts your quality of life because you're constantly getting harassed. So that's why muting and restricting may be a good option, because it gives you your quality of life back, but doesn't escalate, prevents the abuse from escalating as it otherwise would if you block them. So it's just about knowing your options, knowing what each of those options do, and then making an informed choice as to which one fits your situation best, But I always cringe a little bit about, well, just block them. It's like, well, that may not be the best choice.
And now a word from our sponsor, the Divorce Survival Program. Now that you know that divorce is on the horizon, you need to get up to speed on how all of this works. Stat. You probably have 1,000,001 questions swirling through your head, from how and when do we tell the kids to will my ex and I ever get along again, and just about everything in between. You've got legal questions, you've got financial questions, and you've got a whole host of questions about your kids. And that doesn't even touch how you'll start your life over again. Lucky for you, I have the answers to all of your questions. As one of the pioneers of the divorce coaching industry, I've been helping women navigate the divorce process for the last decade. And now, for the first time ever, all of my divorce wisdom is available in one online program. The Divorce Survival Program will help you process the emotional fallout of your divorce so you don't go into mediation bitter or resentful. It'll help you understand the difference between litigation, mediation, collaborative divorce, and identify which is right for you. It'll help you tell your husband you want a divorce in a way that doesn't keep you stuck in a circular conversation for the next 3 months. It'll help you tell your kids you're getting a divorce in a way that won't completely break them. It'll help you understand how your divorce will impact your friends and family and what conversations are appropriate to have with each. It'll help you create appropriate and healthy boundaries with your ex, and learn about dating after divorce and how that will affect you, your kids, and yes, even your ex. But the most important thing this program will help you do is protect your children from any unnecessary fallout from an ugly and contentious divorce litigation. And that, my love, is fucking priceless. So sign up today. Go to kateanthony.com/gettingdivorced, and don't forget to use the code DSGPOD for $50 off. That's DSGPOD, Divorce Survival Guide Podcast, because that's where you heard it. DSGPOD will give you $50 off. So once again, that's kateanthony.com/gettingdivorced. And now back to our episode.
On Instagram now, I noticed this recently that in the last few months, they've created a feature where if you hit that you're going to block someone, it also says, and you have the option of blocking all accounts that they create. How sort of airtight is that?
I'm glad it's there. It's a long time. They could have done this stuff 10 years ago, frankly. So it's really frustrating that they're just doing it now. But that aside, putting my own stuff aside for a second, it's great, right? It's a great thing, because now what that means is if that person tries to create a fake account using that same email or that same device, their Instagram's going to say, sorry, you can't do that. The problem is it's pretty easily circumvented by using a VPN. So a virtual private network, which changes your IP address. So, and that's what it's relying on to block you. So if you don't do anything, then if you get blocked, you try to create a new account and start messaging someone, you're not going to be able to do that. But using a VPN is not high level expertise. People use them all the time. So, and they're readily available. There's tons of them in the App Store and the Google Play Store. So pretty easy to get around it, but I will take these speed bumps all day long, because maybe it's not worth their time to use the VPN to create a new account. Maybe they leave the person alone. So With online stuff, it's really about throwing up as many roadblocks as you can, and you hope the person just gives up because they're just not going to be that they're not going to be that dedicated about it because they're just a regular average person, and they're not going to crack their knuckles and put on their hacker hoodie and start firing away at the keys to figure out how to get a back door into your accounts. I'm like, okay, I'm they changed all their passwords. None of my devices are considered trusted anymore. They're not responding to my harassing messages, and hopefully, or I've been blocked and I can't create new accounts. So you know what? I'm going to go find lower hanging fruit than this and stop bothering this person because I'm not getting anywhere.
Right. Or, the alternative is, or they escalate.
Or they escalate. Which
is always the danger, right? Let's talk about listening devices, Echo or Alexa and stuff like that, right? Is this a thing? Can they listen? Can they hear me?
No one can say for certain that that Amazon's not listening to you through an Echo.
Oh, not Amazon, but my former partner, right? If we had a shared Alexa account, can he log into my Alexa and hear me?
I don't think so. It's not something we see happening. I think it's okay. This concern is, I think, what makes technology such a great fear-based tool in relationship abuse is that anything seems possible, right? Now, I'm not saying, you should definitely update your passwords to your smart home speakers and all that good stuff, but it's usually the least complicated answer when someone is describing a pattern of tech facilitated abuse. It's like, well, they know where I am all the time, or they know that I said this, or they know these things. And so that means there's a spy camera or a listening device in my home. And the truth of the matter is, it's like, no, they still have access to your email and are able to read your emails, or it's rarely something super sophisticated. And if there's good news to be had, when people are worried about a listening device in the home that's not necessarily being misused like a smart speaker, but it's actually like a device they bought off like a spy website, like a spy tech website, which are readily available. The good news is there's a path to determining whether there's a spying device, like a spy camera in your home, because one, it's going to be plugged into power. And two, it's likely going to be using the internet, because sending radio signals or whatever is just not something these things do. I've talked to people in spy tech. So you can go onto your, whoever your internet provider is, and you can see what devices are currently logged into your home's Wi-Fi. So, and we should know, this gets to this idea. This is really important. It's great that it gets at this idea that people, when they think about safety, typically think about physical safety. And it's great to have your doors locked and have a motion lights on and a video doorbell and all that kind of stuff. But our digital safety is equally important. And we should know what devices are using our Wi-Fi. So you can also download a free app called Fing, F as in Frank, ING. And it's what it does really well is it'll tell you when you download on your phone and you're logged into your home's Wi-Fi, it'll tell you every device that's logged into your home's Wi-Fi. So we should know what's in there. And if we can catalog every device, then we know that there isn't somebody, using a spy device in our home. But like I said, if you have an app that comes with your internet provider, like if you got like a Spectrum app or something, it'll show you in there too. Really? But we should know, just like we should know if somebody has a key to our house and we need to update our keys, we should know if somebody has left a device in our home and is using our Wi-Fi to spy on us.
We absolutely should. That's right. I didn't know that we could do this. It would be something to Google.
Yeah, for sure. We should know what apps are on our phone. We should know what devices are using our Wi-Fi, but because they're sort of hiding in plain sight, we often don't give those areas of our lives the attention that they deserve. But absolutely, if somebody installed a parental monitoring app on our phone and has been using it to track our location without our consent, that's something we should know about. But it's often the last thing people are thinking about in an unhealthy relationship, because there's so many other things to think about. But that's why I'm sort of on this mission to get folks to treat their digital safety in the same way they treat their physical safety. So I think if we do that, then we'll be able to prevent a lot of the sort of easy ways that current or former intimate partners are violating the digital privacy of folks.
So speaking of apps, I mean, every app, because I've heard people be like, I think there's an app hiding. Like I've checked everywhere, but I can't find any spyware on my phone, but I'm sure it's there. Is that a thing? Can they hide an app?
Yeah, for sure they can. Yeah, big time.
Oh, wow.
So we call it stalkerware. That's the term I didn't call it that, but those of us in the field called stalkerware. And there's actually a great website called stopstalkerware.org, stopstalkerware.org, which is the Coalition Against Stalkerware website. So if you want to know, there's a great resource on that website that if you have an Android device, will show you how to verify if there's unwanted apps installed on your phone. Now, can a layperson find stalkerware on their device with 100% certainty? No. It's designed to hide. The best advice that I've gotten from experts is if you're really worried that your phone is compromised and somebody has downloaded stalkerware onto your device, is to factory reset the device. And that should solve it. But it could be stalkerware, or it could be that have access to your Google and Gmail account and are using maps and watching what websites you're visiting on, if you use a Google Chrome browser, and learning all the information that way. Right? They don't need. I mean, if you ever go to myaccount.google.com or myactivity.google.com, if somebody has access to that, they can see where you're going, where you've been, what websites you visited, what pages on those websites you're visiting, what apps you're downloading, what you're spending your money on. I mean, it's pretty shocking, and most people have never even heard of those two pages for Gmail users, right? So those are. Yeah, but yes, they can absolutely hide on your device. And the last thing I'll say about stalkerware is, if you really feel like the number one red flag is your intuition, and your instincts. If you feel like somebody knows something they shouldn't, or you're being followed, like, don't dismiss that as paranoia. We live in an age where that's absolutely possible. And some other red flags to be on the lookout for are your battery dying more quickly. A lot of people will think, oh, my phone's just getting old, or I need to do an update. But because stalkerware hides in the phone and is constantly sending information and everything that's going on this device to somebody else, it's working really hard, which can cause the battery to drain more quickly. So don't dismiss a quick, short battery life as just, well, I need a new phone, because it could actually be a sign. I don't want people to start seeing stalkerware everywhere, but it's getting cheaper to acquire. It's getting better at what it does. And so it's definitely out there. It's just not, and we saw a huge spike in stalkerware during the pandemic. So people need to be aware of it for sure.
Why is it legal? Why is it illegal? Is it like, what are the laws available out there?
Yeah.
Around this.
You're not going to find stalkerware on the Apple App Store, for example, because they are very particular about what they allow on their platform.
Right.
The Google Play Store is unlikely to have it on there, although it's more likely to have it than the App Store. But where people are able to get it is on Android devices. You can download apps outside the App Store, outside the Google Play Store. So you can get them from any shady website on the internet. So yes, I don't know that the act of downloading stalkerware on somebody's device in and of itself is illegal, but it can be qualified as cyber stalking. It can qualify as harassment. It can qualify, it's criminal. It can be part of a criminal act, but it's not. It's very easy to get. So it's you can go to really any website that sells stalkerware and get it that way. Unfortunately, but we don't see it a ton. It's not like, oh my gosh, every other case is stalkerware, but it's an emerging issue, and because it's so effective, we want people to know about it as it becomes more mainstream.
Okay, what about mirroring computers, right? Like people say, like, I think he's got some mirroring thing where he can see everything I'm doing on my computer. Is that a thing? And where is that hiding?
Yeah, that could be a thing. I mean,
is it the same thing?
It could be a stalkerware thing. It could be a stalkerware thing, or it could just be, using the iCloud to mirror on multiple, or any kind of shared, access software platforms to share. Oh, it's more convenient for me to mirror, my desktop to my laptop, so it's not, or phones. You can mirror phones like through the phone provider. You can say, oh, I want my phone number to ring on both these devices. So in a circumstance, so it's not always, it's more the misuse of something that's meant. This is true for a lot of tech-enabled abuse, actually. It's the misuse of something that's meant to be convenient, right?
Right.
And so that, like, oh, I don't want to have to get a 6-digit code texted to me every time I log in. I want it just once, and that's meant to be convenient, but then it creates opportunity for somebody to misuse it. So, but I worked on a case where somebody went into their shared phone plan and mirrored the victim's device to their own device, so that their text messages and phone calls were going to two different devices. And so they had no idea that they were being monitored in that way. But they just did that through the phone provider. And they've gotten a little better with that, where you have to download an app usually, and it's not this super conspicuous act. But because of all the family sharing and all these different shared devices, like there's a lot of convenience-based stuff and that's why people in unhealthy and abusive relationships are such prime targets for this, because we're constantly sharing our devices and family sharing all this kind of stuff. And so it makes it very easy for somebody who's maybe even not even thinking about misusing technology to monitor somebody. They may just find out, oh, family sharing's still turned on and we've been separated for months. Now I can see where they are right now, right? So not criminal masterminds on the other end of these things a lot of times. They sort of fall into an ass backwards sometimes.
Oh, right. And I just think I think it's so important for people to recognize, right? That, and as you said, because it's not some criminal mastermind hacking, that means that you don't have to be an expert in this. You just have to kind of be smart about understanding what's going on your phone or your computer. I mean, I'll often say to people, like, take your shit to the Genius Bar. Like, if you really don't know, if you've got an Apple MacBook or an iPhone and you really don't know what's on there, the Genius Bar, they're pretty good at that stuff.
Well, I've had mixed experiences from folks doing that.
Okay.
They're like, as far as telling you whether stalkerware is on the device, it's not, I wouldn't hang my hat on that, because that's not really what they're set up to do.
Sure.
But they can show you, every device, every app that is downloaded onto the device. But you don't need to go to the Genius Bar for that. You just can do that in your settings. But sometimes it's nice to have somebody help you with that, and it can be very, if you feel like you're being abused through your technology, sometimes it's just nice to go somewhere and be like, hey, can you just walk me through so I can make sure somebody didn't put a parental monitoring app on my phone? And because, like, on iPhones, there's a hidden folder for apps. So you can hide apps on an iPhone.
There is? Where's the,
yeah.
I mean, there's a hidden folder for apps. What are you talking about? Where's that?
If you open settings, tap your name, tap media and purchases down near the middle.
Okay.
And it's going to bring up a little menu that asks you to, and you take view account, and it's going to do like Face ID or something like that. And then scroll down in an account settings till you see hidden purchases.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, what the what? Why?
You know what I have? I have Subway Surfers. Subway Surfers.
Oh, cool.
So I guess it was
for some reason I have Whole Foods Market in mind for some reason.
Why are these hidden? That's hilarious.
But now you see that if somebody, let's say you're in a relationship with someone and they get a hold of your phone and they download a parental monitoring app and then hide it on the device. Before I got into this work, I didn't spend time in iPhone settings. Like, who's got time and who wants to do that?
But even existed.
But when you start doing it, it's like, oh yeah, I should probably know if there are some hidden apps on my phone, or I should know what apps are on my device. And in fact, if you go up from hidden purchases and tap purchase history, that'll show every app that's ever been downloaded on the device within the last 90 days, within the last year. That way, even if somebody's downloaded an app and since deleted it from your phone, it'll show up there. And again, we should know what apps are on our devices. We shouldn't be in the dark about this stuff, especially if we're in a controlling or unhealthy relationship, or what we're in one recently. And taking control of our devices and we deserve to be safe whether we're online or offline. What we're comfortable with doesn't change when we get into online spaces. And it's really easy for people to exploit that. But I think I'm hoping as we move forward and we are getting deeper into this digital age. I mean, you and I were talking about the metaverse earlier, but
so terrifying.
It's almost not going to be an option, but to care for ourselves online as well as we care for ourselves offline, because online abuse is not a second-hand citizen to physical abuse. It's deeply traumatic and harmful, and people deserve to be safe in those spaces, and people who harm people in those spaces deserve to be held accountable, just like they do offline.
Yes. But what about like car trackers? I think that's another thing, is the car tracking. And again, I think as I think you're pointing out, I mean, first of all, I think they're really easy to buy, right? The ones that just stick up under your car, but also check your phone and see who's tracking your location, right? Because it could be as simple as your Find My, right? And the family sharing thing.
Or Find My Friends or something like that. Car trackers, I mean, the cars themselves, the newer cars, they have apps attached to them, so you can track the car itself.
That's right. Yeah.
But right now I'm seeing a lot less of GPS trackers that get stuck underneath cars, and I'm seeing a lot more of personal trackers like AirTags and tile devices being misused as a long-range tracker, and put behind a license plate or shoved into a sunroof or something like that. That's what we're seeing.
Let's talk about that, because you told me something a while ago when we first spoke about, what are they called? The other one?
AirTags.
And then after we talked about it, I got a notification on my phone that there was an AirTag, and I was like, wait a minute. So can you sort of briefly, I was like, I freaked out, Adam, because I normally would have been like, what is this? I don't know. And then I was like, oh my God, wait, somebody put an AirTag in my bag. I literally started like unpacking my bag, looking for this AirTag. So can you please explain this AirTag situation? Because this is freaky.
Yeah, it's freaky. So Apple came out with AirTags last year. That's a personal tracker. It's, the size of a quarter, maybe a little bigger. And it's designed to help you keep track of your stuff. So you put it on your keychain, you put it in your bag, it connects to your phone via Bluetooth. And if you can't find your stuff, it'll allow you to basically open an app and it'll direct you to where the AirTag is. And it uses Bluetooth. So at first blush, you're like, well, what's the big deal? Bluetooth has a limited range. If I'm connected to a Bluetooth speaker and walk away, it disconnects. So if someone's trying to long range stalk me, this isn't a very good tool. But the problem is what Apple did is they turned their entire device network, and there's over 1 billion with a B of those devices around the world, into a tracking network. So now all those devices I basically for $29 have access to Apple's device network to use as a tracking network. And so it becomes very easy for me to track people without their consent using these devices. And as you said, if you have an iPhone, you'll get an alert. But you won't if you have an Android device, unless you've downloaded the AirTag app, which why would you download that app if you don't own an AirTag? Right. So it's problematic. And you only get the alert within 8 to 24 hours. So for people who are having these slipped into their bags after a night out at the bar, 8 to 24 hours is too long of a window, because someone's trying to get at you that night. That's concerning. So it's really important to have just an increased awareness that these are a thing now and people are misusing them. And if you feel like you're being tracked or you get an alert, it's going to be, if it's being used to track you, it's going to be in something that travels with you. So check your bag, check your car. It's not going to be in your couch, right? Because your couch doesn't move. So we know what they look like and we know where they're going to be located, somewhere moving with you. So conducting a physical search actually has borne a lot of success for the folks that we've worked with, because they can only be in so many places. Check behind license plates, look inside under floor mats, wedged into car seats, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so when I got that notification, right, I was like, well, I don't understand. And I did emptied out my bag. I did not search my car, but I've never heard anything since.
It should direct you to the device too. So if you follow the prompts on an iPhone, it'll make the AirTag play noise or to help you find it. So
I didn't know.
AirTag, Apple does give you an assist. You have to
I didn't know how to use
press
it.
a link to do that. Yeah. Well, it's so freaky and and sort of violating and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's easy to just be like, I just want this gone. But yeah, people are using it. At no surprise to anybody working in this industry that, creeps will use this to monitor and track people without their consent, because it's a $29 device tracker that, you don't have to, it's so easy to use. So easy, I should say, so easy to misuse. It's not just Apple. There's Tile, there's Samsung trackers, there's Chipolo, which are different trackers. There's pet trackers. There's all this, the personal tracker network that can be, misused that way.
Huh. All right. I'm freaking out about this thing that I didn't quite. I don't think I investigated far enough, but I will. I will do that.
You would have gotten another alert. You would continue to get alerts though. So
I would. Okay.
There's a lot of false positives sometimes, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
That's what I assumed, but it was hilarious because it was literally just after we talked, and I was like, "Oh my god, there it is."
That was me. I did that. I just wanted to keep you, I really wanted to drive home the point I was making.
Hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay, Adam. So is there a digital checklist or something? Do you have anything on EndTAB that is like a checklist that people can go through, or are there any resources out there like that? Since
I tend to do very focused trainings and presentations for like corporations and universities and nonprofits and stuff like that, I don't have a lot of forward-facing stuff on my site, but a really good site that you would not think is a resource for this is Consumer Reports, actually. So they have something called Security Planner on Consumer Reports, and it is really awesome. So it's intuitive. It's sort of choose your own adventure. It's okay. What issue are you worried about? You select that. And what kind of device do you have? You select that. What kind of abuse are you worried about? You select that. And then it gives you sort of a customized guide to deal with it. And it's got a bunch of cool articles. And in fact, I just helped on one or advised on one for personal trackers on that site. So that's where I send most people is to the Consumer Reports Security Planner. It's great. It's free, and it's really well done.
So cool. I love Consumer Reports. That's great.
Me too.
That's really good. They're so smart.
They can do no wrong in my eyes. They're just really killing it.
I know. So, okay, Adam, where can people find you and learn more about you and your work?
My website is endtab.org, END as in dog, TAB as in boy, or I'm at Adam R. Dodge on social media. So it's Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. So yeah, you can find me there. They're all professional work accounts. So it's not going to be pictures of me with puppies or anything like that. It's usually talking about online gender-based violence or something like that. But if that's your jam, you can find me there.
That's great. Adam, thank you so much. I am just so happy that I'm sad that this conversation has to happen, but I'm so happy that you are such an incredible resource for this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And for everything you do. I mean, you're helping a lot of people. So it's awesome. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to folks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time, and until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.